Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Suzerain Rizia. Let's continue on from where we last left off. So we have just had our meeting at the Alliance of Nations, and I feel like it went pretty well. You know, Hegel is... They're not really friendly towards me, but they fucking hate Lesbia, and that is good news for this guy. So, what do we got going on in the news today? Valen announcement throws Ziel into confusion. Royal Herald correspondents in Ziel say that the region's population was shocked by Valen President Victor Smolak's announcement that the region would not be returned to Rizia on the agreed-over handover date. Now, I will say, is this not just going to cause more tension in the area? In a move viewed by as a serious violation of the bilateral agreement signed in 1926, President Smolak announced that in Kairut that due to the nation's national security concerns, the Ziel region would remain under Valen's administration indefinitely. Local residents of Ziel, many of whom are of Rizian descent, have been anticipating a reunion with the kingdom, and have voiced their disappointment and fear over the sudden shift in policy. The coming days are likely to see intense diplomatic efforts from Rizia and the international community. When the people of Ziel, their future hanging in the balance, will be watched closely. Okay. Shocker. Valen refuses to relinquish Ziel. In an eventful South Merkopa focus meeting of the Alliance of Nations, one big takeaway was Valen is willing to go with the extra lengths to keep its hold on Rizian region of Ziel, including invoking the little-cited AN protocol to delay the expected handover. The Alliance of Nations had not challenged President Victor Smolak's announcement, in which he claimed that national security in Ziel was still too compromised to allow for an orderly transition of the region. Though his decision was highly unusual, President Smolak was well within his legal rights to make such an announcement. Whether the international community will support him is another story. What should have been a calm, peaceful Alliance of Nations session, exclusively focusing on the issues of the South Merkopa region, turned into a grandstanding platform for Icelandian Chancellor Eimrik Hegel, who used the opportunity to make multiple interruptions. Hegel is astonishingly present because of the country's new relationship with the Republic of Morella, whose leader, Alma Sultana, spoke at the proceedings. However, he seemed more interested in weighing in on Palesian-Rizian relations, with one particular outburst directed at Palesian Grand Duke Exil Reinhardt. We do not need to remind you that Pales was once Vaglandia's territory, and that Chancellor Hegel interrupted may not have been entirely altruistic. Arcasia commits to a significant military de-escalation, reducing its troop presence and entrusting its operations to Cerberus International and Palantir Security Solutions. This withdrawal indicates a pivot in strategy of decreased conflict intensities and anticipates the stabilization of once turbulent regions. The move immediately affects the global markets, with energy prices showing signs of stabilization, and reflects the diminishing clout of the CSP in key territories like Narashima and Jelena. As Arcasia reassesses its foreign military commitments, the repercussions of foreign stability and power hierarchies are set to stabilize for now. The Republic of Kinel, positioned at the crossroads of key maritime corridors and land-based trade routes, have become an essential hub for the Alliance. Leveraging its geographical advantages, the nation now facilitates critical logistics support and provides oversight in the volatile regions of Norzina and South Merkopa. Kinel's growing role reflects the heightened geopolitical significance and alignment with the Alliance's broader objectives. This alignment has strengthened its position as a pivotal player in the global diplomacy, advancing its national interests while supporting regional stability. Okay. So Kinel is like this weird-looking country, right? Domland, yeah, Kinel is all the way down here. But what else do we got going on? Okay, we got a couple of events. The wine event, which honestly I don't feel like is that important, but it is what it is. Thing is, we have no money, which is bad. Like, I don't really have anything to sell either, so we might just be kind of in a not great situation. The easing of tensions in Xena has sent ripples through the global energy markets, driving prices down. While this benefits consumers abroad, it cuts into the profitability of our energy exports, straining state revenues. Short-term export quotas to control supply. You know what? Let the market correct itself. I mean, we make +6, which, I mean, I think seems pretty good. Look, now Morella is only unfriendly. Global energy prices are low, which means it's bad for us because we are a energy-dependent nation. Public transportation inefficiency crisis. The public transportation system is grappling with an efficiency crisis, strained by burgeoning demands and passenger numbers. Transportation officials are pushing for urgent action, highlighting the need for increased funding and modernization. The government must decide between investing in infrastructural improvements, technological upgrades, or exploring alternative transit solutions. The outcome will crucially impact the daily lives of the citizens and the efficiency of urban mobility. Is our backbone. Yeah, I mean, we like infrastructure for sure. Again, we have 13 for royal decrees. Is there anything? Mass political amnesty for anti-monarchist. Economy. More taxes. Privatize crown lands, I think, is a bad idea. And it's only for $6. Like, it's... I don't think we'll need to do it. Like, at all. Buying and selling weapons, sell energy, which again we can't really afford. We can't do anything with you. Yeah, I mean, there's just nothing else really in here that I think we want to pass. Due to technical issues affecting the vital railroad switch near Keles, train traffic between Port de Razon and Monquise has been cut. While the issue is likely to be resolved within a few days, the closure of this vital railway is affecting not just passenger traffic, but also transportation of goods between Monquise Harbor and the rest of the country. But we have a wine event to go to. In the fertile fields of Keles, the Contoval vineyards were among the oldest in Rizia. They were run by the revered winemaking family, now in their 5th generation, who had long ago been awarded noble status for their fine wines they produce for the kingdom. Tonight, they have invited my family and council over to the ceremonial uncorking of their latest vintage, Romus the Red. Bottled on my coronation day, it is now ready for drinking. It's only been like a year, right? It hasn't been that long. I wish I was in more of a celebratory mood. Valen's announcement at the AN had plunged the country into panic. I was besieged by demands to take action against the Embark. And if that weren't enough, potential PLs were higher than ever. We are still waiting for the arbitration results. If I had to go to war between Palis or Valent, I'd probably choose Valent because nobody likes Valent. Right? Like, that, I think it just makes sense. In the meantime, the Rizian Navy remained deployed around the Arroyos field, despite the international community's growing concern. The gas tankers were venturing off from Monquise, Port de Razon, and Fort Ellis to Rumburg to fill our natural gas exports every single day. For now, all I had to do was open a wine bottle. But even that was politicized. You guys stressed the importance of keeping the Cotonou family loyal to our house. Our motorcade rolled out to the vineyard entrance, with a festival tent decorated in blue, white, and gold. The Rizian flag had been set up. Due to the intimate nature of the event, we've been asked to entrust our security to the Cotonia's own guard force. Titus's men would remain on standby near the vineyard's perimeter. After the thorough security sweep, my mother Estella, Vina, Hugo, and I proceeded to our table. Pavel smoothly approached and poured us a glass of sparkling water. I had the pleasure of supervising the pre-tasting with the vineyard staff, and I must say, the family has truly outdone themselves this time. Oh, so you're drunk already, Pavel. Pavel cracked a smile. We spit it out during tasting, Your Majesty. Unfortunately. Very prudent, Mr. Aldria. One wouldn't want to become too intoxicated for such an important function. Lucida, Elena, and Lorento walked past us as we were seated at the table next to ours. All three were dressed more festively than a simple formal wear they wore to the council meetings, but Lucida's slinky, intricately beaded yellow gown was particularly eye-catching. My mother turned to me and muttered under her breath, "Oh my, the mountains of Monte Clara are on full display tonight." Okay, okay, I see. And how? I honestly don't like any of these options. Ah, you're just jealous that for once somebody's outfit is better than yours. Vina sniffed a giggle. I don't understand what we're doing here, especially with all that's been going on. Politics, Your Highness. In case our foreign situation escalates, we require the support of House Toras and our home provinces more than ever. Why would our own family rebel against us, right? That doesn't seem like it's gonna make a it's not gonna be bad. Vina has a point. President Smolak and I haven't exchanged a word since Yale. Wouldn't I make it my priority to talk to him? Mr. Escobar is already setting up a meeting, Your Majesty, and he has a team putting together our case as we speak. For now, it's important to reassure our wealthiest citizens that the situation is not to affect their assets. The rest of the attendees began filing in. It was a small elite crowd, comprising barons and baronesses, viscounts, and CEOs from around the region. They bowed as they passed my table, but some of their smiles seemed ungenuine. I thought I heard someone whisper, "sword lover." Because I made one deal with them, you fucking piece of shit? Estella flashed me a look of warning. There's no pleasing these people, darling. Better to ignore them. Last to arrive was my father's younger cousin, Hubertus, the reigning Duke of Velikias. He approached our table and removed his hat with a sweeping motion. "Your Majesty, thank you for joining us today on behalf of myself and the entire province." He pronounced it province, the remnants of a lisp he had had since childhood. You know what? It's good to see you, Your Grace, and I hope your reign as Duke is going smoothly. How could it not be? With King Romus Toras on the throne. He smiled with genuine warmth. I hope the smell didn't bother you on the way over. I must say the news gas field expansion is beginning to raise quite the stink. I've heard they discovered a species of snail in the Sikil Islands that lives off of industrial waste. Perhaps they could be an expedient solution. I mean, what's wrong with a bit of snails? Scholarly mind never stops working, does it? Rest assured, your king has everything under control. Thank you, Your Majesty. I never doubted you. We'll have to catch up later. Everyone's growing impatient for the grand uncorking. You're quite right, I won't keep them waiting. After everybody had settled in, the head of the winery gave a short opening greeting, then welcomed me onto the stage. I stepped behind the microphone. A magnum-sized bottle of Romus the Red stood on the table behind me. Ladies and gentlemen, we gather here to celebrate the fruits of this land. Our land. The wines of this vineyard have always delighted our palates in times of joy and calmed our nerves in times of sorrow. I don't want to choose one. I am heartened that so many of you had come out here to celebrate tonight, especially in the wake of recent events. I am but an instrument of God's will, but I know that Lord has great plans for Rizia. It's not an island. I'm proud son. And we must not forget that Velikias is not an island. We cannot ignore the support. And we should not be scared of looking outwards to rekindle our international friendships. Like, you know, the support of Runeberg and our fellow monarchies in grace will be invaluable. There was a round of polite applause. I couldn't tell what my audience was thinking. United Rizia. And I know one thing is for certain. By this time next year, we'll be raising a glass of Romus the Red to a reunited Rizia. The attendees applauded slightly more loudly. Miracles of the Katan family have done for the Heimel grape. For now, we bear witness to the miracles that the Katavo family have worked with the humble grape. I heard cheers as the representative of the winery handed me a ceremonial corkscrew in a glass. And I will uncork the wine. I poured myself a small amount and turned to face the crowd. Glorious Axa Rizia. Drink. I raised my glass out towards the audience and drank. It was delicious. A light, refreshingly taste gradually developed into a darker, more complex finish. There was a round of applause. I stepped off the stage. Papal and the winery staff began circling around the table with wine and food. Hugo intercepted me before I could sit down. That was interesting. What was wrong with my speech? To Hugo? I didn't think it went too badly. You must admit, our Velikria's constituents were less than impressed. Relax, Your Majesty, I'll handle it. He walked off to speak to the Katovos. I sat down for a brief sip of my glass of wine before heading into the fray. I spent a good several hours mingling with the relatives and the fellow nobles, posing for photographs with winemakers and fending off journalists. Every time I attempted to sit down and eat, I was deluged with more requests. My glass, on the other hand, was constantly being refilled. By the end of the night, I was having some trouble keeping names and faces straight. The tent gradually emptied out as the guests departed. The winery had an attached luxury villa where our delegation would be invited to stay the night. Hugo, Estella, Vina, and I saying our goodbyes before making our way upstairs. Despite the shaky start, I think our fellow guests came away quite happy. I would call the evening a smashing success, with an emphasis on smashing. Vina was clutching my mother's arm, looking half-dazed. Romus the Red, long may he reign, she hiccuped. That's right, darling, let's get you to bed. I heard an roar's burst of laughter from the other side of the room. My 3 counselors were still at their table. Lucida's eyes were sparkling as she regaled the other 2 with a apparently hilarious antidote. I'll be right behind you. I've just got to say goodnight to the staff. She gave me a knowing smile. Vina was too busy attempting to pirouette in her ball gown to register what I said. As my family headed out, I walked towards my counselor's table. And he just stormed into my barracks without a stitch on, screaming, "If you weren't a duchess, I'd have you drawn and quartered." Now, what are you 3 so merry about? Oh! She, Loretta, and Elena immediately straightened up and stopped laughing. Your Majesty, I thought she was just telling us about the time she hit her commanding officer's fatigues while he was swimming. It was a day or back in basic training. I had to scrub the kitchen floor for 3 weeks, but it was worth it. It's part of a drinking game, Your Majesty. A rather infantile one. Well, can I play? If you think you can handle it, Your Majesty. She had a teasing look in her eyes. I wondered how much she had to drink. Pabel, some wine for the king, please. Right away, Mr. Escabel. I don't want to marry Lucida. Even though I think it would be good for getting our 2 houses together. I don't know if it's the best idea. Pabel approached the table and gave a generous pour of Romus the Red. Why don't you play too, Pabel? I detected cautious excitement in his eyes. It would be my pleasure, Your Majesty. He sat down. Lucida rubbed her hands together. Perfect, Pabel. I think we'd love to learn more about you. Now, have you played Facts or Fiction before? I have not, Duchess. It's simple. You tell us 3 statements about yourself. 2 of them have to be true, and 1 of them must be a lie. Each of us guesses which statement was false, and if we guess wrong, we have to drink. She gestured at Pabel, who quickly topped up her wine glass. It's just my turn. I'll let the Majesty choose the next player. You know what? Miss Werner, if you please. I still find it childish. In my day, if people wanted to get drunk, they just got drunk. But if you insist. She thought for a moment. I have an antique coin collection that's worth more than my house. My late husband and I once undertook a 3-week sailing trip to Goblin and back. And I once had to stop Queen Rizia from purchasing a diamond necklace with Rizia's treasured money. Which one am I going to say is the lie? There's no way your coin collection is worth that much. I call foul on the Rizia story. Her Majesty was beyond such shenanigans. I can believe Her Majesty Queen Rizia would attempt such a purchase, but not that you would stop it, Miss Werner. Lorenta grinned and shook his head. This is too easy. There's one thing you hated more than sailing is your dearly departed husband. Helena sighed. Yep, that's right. I got a drink. I picked up my glass and took a healthy sip. Lucida and Pabel did the same. You got a fortune in antique coins, do you? Ask me anything about Marquise ducats and Rizian medallions. Well then, Miss Werner, who's next? Mr. Escabel? With pleasure. He gave his wine glass a dramatic swirl. When I was at a diplomatic meeting that I know is trivial, I drew characters instead of taking notes. When I was just out of university, I challenged the mayor of Cerbels to a duel. I accidentally shouted, "All hail the new queen and His Majesty King Valero's coronation." What? Based on what we know of his character, what seems the least likely? I mean, I was at my father's coronation. I would have heard if someone shouted queen. It's more plausible than a counselor admitting to the king that he had been failing to take notes at meetings. A duel scenario seems far-fetched to me. And I've heard the duel story 100 times, Lorento. You didn't challenge Mayor Sabels. It was the Earl of Jails. Lorento gave her an abashed look. You know me too? Well, miss. So we were all wrong, no matter what we chose? Elena smirked triumphantly. I noted Pabel took a slight concern. You call my father a queen? Quite accidentally, Your Majesty, and it's drowned out in a loud chorus of other voices. How anticlimactic. Okay, Pavel, it's your turn. My butler gave a graceful nod. Certainly, Your Majesty. He paused to think. My father once made me weed a patch of stinging needles as punishment for shirking off on duty. Little did he know I rather enjoyed the sensation. I once overheard a Rumburgian royal valet made a demeaning comment about Queen Mother Estella during a diplomatic visit. I persuaded our chef to put an excessive amount of pepper in his food at the staff dinner. He looked down at the table. In the 20s, I wrote a poem that was selected for the annual Rizian Literary Compodium. Pseudonymously, of course. I said it laughed lightly. There's the falsehood. Running a royal household doesn't leave one time with poetry. The butler's wine descriptions have been verged on poetry at times. I prefer to believe that he doesn't reverse pleasure from stinging needles. And I'd rather not believe a story about the Rumburgian valet. Thing is, I don't... Is this something that we would have learned? Now, we know that he was a gardener. Like, he worked in the gardens, we know that. What was his other stories? Royal Valet. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't think he's too professional for that. I think I would know if Pavel had written poetry. Pavel shifted in his seat. Actually, the poetry part was true. The weeding that needle patch was the worst pain I'd ever felt in my life. How brutal of your father. Pavel shrugged. He was worried I was distracting you from your princely duties. Lucida cleared her throat. I think we're forgetting someone. If I read that Compodium regularly, what was your pseudonym? That isn't important. Wait, let me guess. Paul Adir from 1929. It was a shadow to your light, a silent witness to your burden you bore. A chasm yawns between us now, eager to be filled with talk with touch. Like two rising tides beneath the setting sun, we were pulled back to each other with a force that knows no bounds. And just as the valet embraced and night claims the dead end, your fire consumes me. My heart solve. He was interrupted by a sudden clatter coming from Pavel's direction. Everyone turned to look at my butler. Forgive me. I dropped my glass of wine. I'd have to clear it up for once. He turned away to signal a winery staff member. Sounds centered around the table. Whichever Palace made, he wrote that for is one lucky girl. Shall we continue? And you know, since I missed your story, I think you should have another round, Duchess Azaro. As you wish, Your Majesty. By my Azaro heritage, I could not stand the sight of blood as a child. There was a time I would faint from picking my own finger. My cousin Zola confided in me that she despised her husband-to-be. So I falsified evidence that he was having an affair with a commoner. The engagement was broke off at once. I have a lucky set of undergarments that I wear to important meetings and military exercises. Lorenzo raised an eyebrow. Intriguing, dear Duchess, but false. Azaros don't fall prey to superstition. About blood... Because, I mean... This, I think, is her flirting with me. I think Lucida, like, she wants me, and I think this is a flirt. This one seems... You know what? We'll go with, I don't believe the story about your cousin. I'd sooner believe that the idea of Lucida Zaro fainting in a drop of blood. No, the blood story is so implausible that it must be true. I have doubts about your role in the delusion of your cousin's engagement. Mr. Escobar had it right. I don't wear lucky underwear on important days. Actually, on such occasions, I find it invigorating to wear nothing at all beneath my uniform. Lorenzo and Alina shot each other with amused looks. Pavel politely coughed. Perhaps now would be a good time for Duchess Zaro to retire? There has been a great deal of wine flowing tonight. It's all harmless fun, Pavel, isn't it, Your Majesty? Don't I get a turn? I mean, we all deserve some reprieve from the stiff formalities of royal life. Pavel frowned. My apologies to you both. I was only trying to be helpful. If you'd like to be helpful, you can fetch us a new bottle. This one's almost empty. Straight away, Duchess Azaro. He disappeared into the kitchen and came back with more wine. Lucida looked at me expectantly. Okay, I'll give it a go if you don't mind. My counselor looked at each other with no small amount of excitement. I can feel my head spinning. I racked my brain for ideas. If I weren't king, I think I'd like to be a farmer. Growing up Palace Toras. My great-grandfather, King Ziva II, never actually had a mustache. Growing up in Palace Toras, I once mistook Price's marquee in vase of the urinal. I was having some trouble concentrated, I blurting out the first thing that came to my mind. Was I unfaithful to my wife? I was secretly happy when my father died. The others exchanged troubling looks. Lorento cautiously spoke up. Of course you weren't glad when King Valero died, Your Majesty. That one has to be the lie. The others quickly nodded in their assent. I could see Lucetta scrutinizing me closely. You know what? You guessed it. That was the lie. There was a palpable feeling of relief in the air. So, a farmer. Wouldn't have been my first choice, that's for sure. What can I say? I like knowing where my food comes from. Pabel cleared his throat. Your Majesty, you have a long day ahead of you tomorrow. Why don't we adjourn? But we were just getting to the good stuff. Lorento pushed back his chair. This elderly statement is going to call it an evening, Majesty. Thank you for an enlightening time. Yes, we've all learned a great deal. Possibly too much. Lucetta shook her head. The more intimately we get to know each other, the better we can fight as a team. It's an old army trick. Shall I escort you to your quarters, Your Majesty? Oh, yeah, thank you. My councilor and I said our goodbyes. They dispersed to the room that they were staying in. I suddenly became acutely aware of how much wine I had to drink. Pabel helped me keep us steady as we made our way upstairs to my suite. He swiftly ushered me inside and took off my coat. The butler's quarters are connected by a adjoining door. I'll just knock if you need me. Pabel walked over to the side of the room. He paused with his hand on the doorknob. So, that poem, those feelings. It was a very long time ago, Your Majesty. He turned the knob. It's fine, Pabel. I won't tell a soul. Relief blossomed over Pabel's face. He bowed. Thank you. I hope you don't share. I don't share feelings, but you're still my friend. Needless to say, I hope this means my secrets are safe with you. He looked me in the eyes and nodded. Absolutely, Your Majesty. Good night. He rushed out, closing the door behind him. With some difficulty, I undressed and crawled into bed. I slept more soundly than I had in months. But with a lovely, lovely snooze, I think it's going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So if you've enjoyed, remember thumbs up. Not doing it, always thumb down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.